Hey everyone, welcome to session one of ReLead. Thank you so much for joining us. I am excited to dive deep into this material with you. I've spent a lot of time over the last few months. In fact, I think the idea for this concept actually started, back in January, February of last year. And the reason for that was we saw a lot of stuff taking place in the industry that made me real concerned with where the industry was heading. A lot of people were saying, oh, you've got to do this to succeed, or you've got to do this to have your team succeed, your brokerage succeed. And there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of talk about what this broker's doing and what that company's doing and what technology is being released. And so what I wanted to do with this series was kind of get back to basics of what it means to be a great broker, what it means to be a great leader, what it means to be a great lead agent. And so although this is titled ReLead, Lead Agent Training Program, this is really for anyone either A, in leadership in the real estate industry, or B, wanting to be in leadership in the real estate industry. Because for the next 18 weeks, I'm going to dive deep into everything you need to know and do to not only grow a large brokerage, grow a large team, grow a large office, but also to retain and attract and keep people excited and moving forward about wanting to be in business with you. So a couple quick housekeeping items. By now, you should have all received the PDF of the workbook. If you haven't had a chance to print this out, I would do so. In fact, I know a lot of people will actually be taking the cover and putting it into a 3-ring binder and binding these. I recommend you do that because this is an 18-week series. This is 18 sessions, and each session builds upon the next session. So what I would recommend you do, if you haven't done it yet, maybe do it right now or wait until this session is over. Print off the PDF that we sent you. That is the workbook we're going to operate from over the next 18 weeks. From time to time, I will have some additional material that I'm going to share with you, but for now, make sure you get this printed. It has everything you need to know about moving forward. If you want to take it to the next level, just simply put this in the front of a 3-ring binder, get this hole punched, and now at the end of this program, you're going to have an 18-week leadership management program, all designed to help you build a big business in the real estate industry. Okay, so a couple quick housekeeping items. This session will always, unless otherwise notified, it will always take place on Wednesdays at 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. Wednesdays at 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. If ever that changes, which I mean maybe 1 will change, 2 will change, but if ever that changes, you'll have ample notice. But just block off the next 18 weeks, Wednesday, 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. Now, I know we're going to get questions, well, about holidays and this and that. We're going to notify you if there's a holiday or something that comes up, all right? Next, I want you to make sure that you never miss a session if you don't have to. And the reason for that is because the only session that's going to be recorded and sent out is this one. All right. One of the things that I decided to do is obviously make this entire 18 weeks free, no charge, no cost to you. So we will be sending out the recording from today's session to everyone, but that is the only session that we're going to send out. Now, if you're saying, well, I've got a cruise already scheduled, or I'm at home sick with the flu. From time to time, if you have an emergency or something that comes up, you can email us in advance and get a copy of the recording. But that's only if you let us know in advance, all right? So again, these will not be recorded and sent out every time. Only this time will they be recorded and sent out. If you're sick or you're on a cruise or whatever, email us in advance. The email address for anything, by the way, during the next 18 months is info@gloveru.com, info@gloveru.com. Last and certainly not least, before we get into my notes for today, every week we're going to have a little bit of fun during every session. So during every session, we are going to randomly select one person that joins us during the session, and they are going to win some type of gift, whether it's Glover U swag or a ticket to one of our events. We're going to be giving a trip away to one of our events. So we've got a lot of cool things planned each week. How do you win? After each session, you post something online, whether it's a quote, whether it's a picture of you in the session, whether it's a picture of me, whatever. Post whatever you want on Facebook and use the hashtags behind me there. GloverU, hashtag GloverU, hashtag ReLead. Every week, our staff is going to go in and randomly select one person. We're talking good stuff, like Yeah, water bottles that keep stuff cold, backpacks. I got a lot of good gear that we give away. Nike polos, golf polos, long sleeve stuff. Anyway, so all you have to do is tag #GloverU, #ReLead, and we will randomly select one person each week. Okay, thank you. So let's go ahead and jump in. So I wrote down 4 or 5 reasons why we're doing this. Number one, which I've already alluded to it to some degree. I believe that the industry is losing sight of what's necessary to grow and develop people. There's so much delusion about, you got to have this to survive. You got to have this to succeed. You understand that a lot of that is scarce tactics that brokers, franchises, owners, whatever use to whatever it is to make the agents feel tied or handcuffed or that they need them in order to succeed. So now don't get me wrong, there are certainly benefits of being affiliated with a particular company or with a particular team or with a particular franchise. And there's no doubt we have a lot of people on this session from that are with franchises, and we have a lot of people on the session that are with independents. But the reason why I wanted to do this program is get back to the actual basics of how do you attract people? How do you get them into production? How do you teach them to sell? How do you have one-on-one coaching sessions with them? How do you run great sales contests and great sales meetings? All the things that the human needs in order to succeed. I wrote down number 2, reason why we're doing this is talented people aren't being taught what's actually necessary to succeed. You understand that agents are coming into this industry and being told that, hey, spend a few bucks, get a few leads, and you'll be fine. Well, okay, what do I say when I get the lead? How do I convert the lead? What do I present when I go there? What happens after I get the contract signed? So we're going to dig into how do you actually develop people? How do you turn an average person into a salesperson? One of my favorite topics to talk about. Next, I wrote down broker retain and not have people quit, which ends up costing us more money. So we purchase leads, or we put out shiny objects, or we do certain things to retain. We're getting soft. Why are we getting soft? Well, because there's so much talk of brokerage wars through social media. It's distracting our people. It's distracting our agents and causing them to, instead of take action, get distracted. Well, did you hear this broker's doing this? Did you hear this broker rolled out that? That's all a distraction. We need our people on the ground meeting with buyers and sellers constantly. Next, I wrote down, which leads to, by the way, high turnover. You notice the industry right now has more turnover in leadership than we've seen in the last couple decades. Why is that? Well, because we have a lot of wannabe leaders starting to show up because the pool is so shallow. The talent pool in the industry right now is the shallowest I've seen in the last 20 years. And now we have all these wannabe leaders emerging, leaders that have never actually accomplished anything great in the industry. Why are we doing this? I wrote down, one of my mentors actually talked last week about be careful who you learn from and who you follow. Today, it's so easy to look like a hero and a superstar on Facebook. So naturally, you want to reach out. How'd they do it? If they could do it, I can do it. I want to follow them. Be mindful of who you're following today. Are they in production? Are they selling homes? How are they teaching people to do not what they did, but what they're doing? Finally, I wrote down, you could have the same feeling or sentiment about me. If you don't know who I am, I think we had a total of 1,000 or 1,100 people sign up for this. I don't know in the end who's actually going to continue through the 18 weeks, but you may say, well, why am I listening to you? Why am I listening to this guy? I encourage you, by the way, to stay skeptical towards me or anyone that you follow. I encourage you to stay skeptical because the industry is moving and changing so fast. You should always observe and dissect and question to learn more. And by the way, true leaders will show up. You'll know who true leaders are by the depth of the knowledge and the depth of the conversations, because you'll be able to tell whether they've done it or whether they have or have not. Okay, so why should you listen to me? Now, I'm not going to go into, I know a lot of you have heard my story at events or at our event in, I think it was Traverse City or Orlando. I told my story from, when I started out right out of high school to getting into the industry. Well, I'm not going to go into the full story. You guys don't need all the details on that. Maybe some other time. I do want to share with you why you should consider listening to me, though. I started in the industry, by the way, 17 years in the business. I'm in Michigan. You can get licensed here when you're 9. No, I'm kidding. Started in the business in 2003 as a real estate sales agent. I started with Century 21, actually, great company. And essentially, my first year in the business, I sold 32 homes. You know, got all the plaques and awards and high fives and praise for doing that at 19 years old, by the way. And at the beginning of the next year, so this was end of 2004 going into 2005, the beginning of the next year, I went to my broker because I had it all figured out. You know, 19 years old, I just sold 32 homes. I can run an office. Let's go. Went to my broker and said, hey, I want to learn how to manage, and I want to learn how to train. I want to learn how to recruit. And I'll never forget, you know, great broker, by the way, great reputation. He's still with us today, you know, kind of put his glasses down a little bit, much older than me. And he said, Jeff, you just aren't seasoned enough, son. You just need a little bit more seasoning. And I'll never forget that because, number one, it was very motivating because when you're 19 years old, you're cocky, you know, 32 homes. Hey, I just made 120 grand, whatever it was I made. You know, I was kind of like, really? You're going to tell me? I'll show you, right? What else to do? Now, of course, looking back 17 years, I now understand what he meant. I did need more seasoning, and certainly through the years I developed and got more seasoned, as he would say. So I left that broker at the beginning of 2005 for a broker who would give me a chance. It was a Coldwell Banker broker, Paul and Kathy Schweitzer. They're still my mentors to this day. And they gave me a shot at running one of their most failing offices. They said, Jeff, if we're going to hire you, you're going to take over the city in Michigan is called Livonia. You're going to take over our Livonia office. By the way, the broker just left. He opened up his own office. It has room for 50 or 60 agents, and there's about seven agents left. And oh, by the way, one more thing, the 7 agents that are left are the 7 agents that gentleman didn't want to take with him. So, I mean, what did they have to lose at that point, right? Hey, they gave me a shot, and I appreciate that, and I respect them for that. And at the same time, I understand why they gave me that office. They didn't have anything else to lose. How could I screw it up any more than it was screwed up? So I started in that role in 2005. By then, I was 20 years old, and I was just turning 21 that year. That year, I grew the office. In the next 2 years, I filled the office up. 2 years in a row, it was the fastest growing office in the 16 office chain. Both years, out of 16 managers that had been doing this stuff for 10, 15, 20 plus years, I beat them all out for attracting agents and recruiting. I won the top recruiting award 2 years in a row. And so from there, they gave me a promotion. They said, Jeff, well, you just did it with your office. Would you mind going out and helping our managers do training in their offices and helping them with recruiting? So I became the director of training and recruiting for a company that had 500-600 agents at the age of 22, 23 years old. Because I had already sold 32 homes. You know, I was a superstar selling 32 homes. Well, now I had managed for a couple of years and built up an office real big and had a lot of followers and implemented systems and so forth. That's still to this day that we use in our real estate team. And so they gave me an opportunity to go around the company and learn from and share with other managers and trainers and recruiters in the organization to help grow the company. By 2008, I had reached out to our firm. And by the way, I was back. So 2007, I made the decision to do that and also sell real estate. You know, of course, 24 years old, 23 years old, cocky, I can do both. I got this all figured out. Well, I actually ended up in 2008. From 2007, I got back into sales, and I still did the training and recruiting, sold 37 homes, 38 homes that year. 2008, sold over 100 homes with me and just one other person. So I went back to the ownership group at that office and said, hey, I want to take what I just did. Of course, I had it all figured out. I want to take what I just did, and I want to open up my own location. I want to have my own environment, an environment where agents can learn and thrive and grow, and there's accountability, and there's structure, and there's noise, and there's music, and there's bells ringing. Can I do that? And, you know, not picking on any one franchise here, but at the time there wasn't a model for that with that franchise. And so I had to join another franchise, which actually has a model for what I was trying to do. And so it seemed like a no-brainer. I went into the broker's office and said, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to take what we just did with me and one other person, and I want to grow this. I think we have something here. And so actually I'm broadcasting you live today from that exact location. Now it's been remodeled or whatever since then, that we opened in January of 2009. And in January of 2009, it was me, and I brought probably 4 or 5 agents from that company or other agents from town. And we did 150, 200 transactions that year. And then it grew from 150 to 200 transactions to 250 the next year. And then 400 the next year. And then 680 the next year. And then we got over 1,000 a couple years after that. So, and then from there, by the way, so I was always in production during those years. You should know, if you didn't know this, from 2008 to 2018, 10 years in a row, I personally sold over 100 homes each one of those years. In fact, a couple of the years I sold over 200 homes myself personally, in addition to what we did as a team. So what I'm going to share with you over the next 18 weeks is how you can succeed in production. All right, because we've got a lot of lead agents on here that are leading teams. And we also have a lot of broker owners on here that are running offices or running brokerages that could still make a good income selling real estate. So a lot of what I'm going to share over the next 18 weeks is how I built our real estate team. By the way, we got up to 50 total associates, closing over 1,000 transactions a year. Works out to about 32 or 33 transactions per person. I talk a lot about per person production. I think that's extremely important. We're going to talk about that over the next 18 weeks. Anyways, I'm still on the ground selling real estate. We've got a large team selling a lot of homes. #1 real estate team in Michigan the last 6 or 7 years for most volume, and 5 or 6 of those most homes sold of all brokerages, of all franchise. So I'm not saying this to brag. I'm sharing this with you because I want to show you that you can build a big business and still sell a lot of real estate, or you can build a big brokerage and run a successful real estate team, right? It doesn't just have to be one thing done at a very high level. Now, of course, you'll have to start with one thing done at a high level. Obviously, as you see, I took a step back and learned how to manage. All right. I still think to this day, that's one of the biggest differences between myself and a lot of our competitors. I took that 4-year setback in income, in production, so I can learn how to recruit, how to train, how to retain, how to manage, how to do one-on-one coaching sessions, which all those things we're going to get into. And now, fast forward to today, I'm involved. I own a couple franchises. In total, there's about 550 agents in our total umbrella. We call it the Live Unreal umbrella. So let's jump in. This is for brokers, lead agents, teams, owners, investors. If you're a leader in the real estate industry, this is for you in the next 18 weeks. I promise you're going to get something. I'm going to go through the models in a moment, but I promise you're going to get something that's going to add a lot of value. Each session, by the way, is set for 30 minutes. Some of them may go 40, 45. At a minimum, they'll be 30 minutes. We may go up to 40, 45. All right. So I just want to make sure you're mindful of that. All right. So I wrote down, if you're taking notes, hopefully by now you've printed off your workbook. I wrote down there's 3 keys to success as a real estate leader in the industry today. So wherever you're taking notes, whether it's on your computer, whether it's in your workbook, I want you to write down 3 keys to success as a real estate leader today. I wrote down key number 1, and some of you, these may sound familiar because they're not too far different. I teach a lot of salespeople, sales training, sales skills, and these aren't different. Well, there's one that's different, by the way, but the first 2 or 2 out of these 3 are not much different than what we teach our salespeople. And the first thing I wrote down is exposure. How often are you exposing yourself to new ideas, new people, new situations, new strategies that are outside of the norm? I can promise you the brokers, owners, lead agents that are winning right now are the ones that are getting constant exposure to things that are outside of the norm. Whether it's going to conferences, attending masterminds, following people, getting involved in Facebook groups, whatever it is, the people out there today that are succeeding at a high level, lead agents, broker owners, are succeeding because they're getting a lot of exposure to things that are outside of the norm. Okay, it's the law of the lid. If you read John Maxwell's book, or any really book on leadership, John Maxwell calls it the law of the lid. That means that your people's leadership skills are going to cap at your lid, at your cap level. Well, how do I keep raising my leadership level? Through exposure. Well, where do I get exposure? Well, you can go to events. We have a couple different exposure offerings out there for you and your agents. Okay, the Glover U podcast, it's called the Live Unreal podcast. That's totally free. You can go on there anytime. We have a new episode once a week. You know, that's something that not only you should be listening to, but your salespeople should be listening to, which I should probably put out there. If you're not familiar with Glover U, which I'm not here to sell you on Glover U, but we are a very agent-friendly real estate training and coaching company, meaning you don't have to worry about your agents coming to one of our events or getting exposure to the podcast and them hearing I'm telling them to do something crazy that's going to end up causing them to go bankrupt or cause them to leave your company. Everything that I'm sharing at our events and on our podcast and so forth are the same things that I'm sharing with my agents right out there. So know that everything I'm sharing is good information, things that your people want to hear, things that you want them to hear. All right. So if you're looking for additional exposure, there's great podcasts out there. Think Like a CEO is a great podcast. How I Built This is a great podcast. And if you want to listen to ours or you want your agents plugged into ours, it's the Live on Real podcast. Facebook groups, as long as you're following the right people, Facebook groups are a great place for exposure. Glover U Inner Circle. If you haven't joined yet, all you do is search on Facebook, Glover U Inner Circle. It's free to join. By the way, most podcasts are free as well. It's join the Inner Circle. There's free information in there. There's a lot of exposure and people that you can learn from. Another thing that comes out pretty regularly, a quarterly magazine that we produce, it's called the Glover Gazette. You can go on gloveru.com, search for Gazette, put in your information. It's free. We send it out quarterly. Take advantage of it. Key number one, exposure. How often are you exposing yourself to ideas that are outside of the norm? Number two, value. I wrote down 3 keys to success as a leader in the industry. Value. What value do you add to an agent apart from the rest? What is your value proposition? How clear are you on that? How well have you articulated that? Is it put together in a nice presentation that you could go line by line and show someone the value of being affiliated with you? One of the biggest differences between the best and the rest right now are the best are very clear on their value proposition and how it can help an agent succeed. What is your value proposition and how can it help me succeed? If I'm an agent sitting in front of you and I'm considering joining your team or your firm, and I'm also interviewing 2 or 3 others, and I ask you the question, so what's different about your company? How is your company going to help me succeed? You better have an answer. 1, 2, 3, just like that. As we get later into the program, guess what? We're going to help you build a strong value proposition. Now, I know there's a lot of you that are on this that are saying, I already have a strong value proposition. I don't need a better one. I got a good one. Great. If I can give you 2 or 3 more things to add to that, it's going to make you even better. And number 3, I wrote down keys to succeeding as a leader in the industry today is time and how we spend our time. The fortunate and unfortunate part about this business is that we're independent contractors, and so are our agents. And we can come and go as we please, right? If you think about the reason why most agents got into the industry, freedom and flexibility, right? That's one of the challenges a lot of teams have when they start holding agents accountable. Well, I didn't get into this industry to be told what to do, when to do it, when to show up. During the next 18 weeks, I'm going to help you implement accountability systems that your agents actually want and take advantage of. It's crucial. Not only that, but you have to have an ideal schedule. In one of our next sessions, I'm going to walk you through a top team leader's ideal schedule. You've seen them for agents. You may not have seen one for actual a broker, owner, or lead agent. So I'm going to go through from start to finish what my schedule looked like through the growth years, so you know exactly what needs to be done to achieve a high level of sales and also build a big, successful sales team. Okay, so let's get into some of the additional. I want to talk first. We're going to finish up with models. We've got about, like I said, I'm going to go over a little bit. So probably, 10 minutes or so. I'm finishing up with some models, and then I've got some further instructions for you at the end. Okay, so let's talk about the models that are out there today. There's the traditional model. If you're taking notes, put this into your notes. All right, I want you to write these down. There's nothing wrong with any one of these models. In fact, I think we can learn something from all of these models. Over the next 18 weeks, I'm going to take you through a model. You might not implement everything from this model, but my hope is that you take 1 or 2 things and add it to your model. Or maybe you're on this thinking, gosh, I got a great business, but I'm bankrupt right now. I'm broke. I need to change my model. Well, that's fine. We're going to talk about that over the next 18 weeks. Okay. And we'll get into profits. We'll get into returns, right? There was a point where Our sales team was bringing in over $1 million, $1.2 million, $1.4 million in net profit, taxable income, $1.2 million, $1.4 million. There was also years where it was bringing in $0. All right. Same thing with the brokerages. There's years where they're bringing in $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 in owner profit. And there's years where they're bringing in 100,000. Why is that? Why does that happen? I'm going to walk you through that entire journey. All right. So number one, the traditional model. Okay. The traditional models that I'm walking you through the models that exist today. The traditional model is what we would consider a dependent model. Okay. You saw these a lot in the 90s, reasonable splits in exchange for space, admin help, leads, some sign calls, office training. This model, by the way, is actually starting to come back. You see some national franchises offering more value to arm the agents with what they need to succeed. But at the same time, it's a retention tool. This is very common in the traditional model. There's the high commission model, also known as, for anyone that's not in the high commission model, by the way. Notice anyone that's in a high commission model, they don't call themselves discount brokers, but everybody else does, right? So the high commission model or the discount brokerage model, this is where you get more net per check. Maybe there's transaction fees, or there's a lower fee to be affiliated, and you usually don't get a ton of value in return. Now, there are some that are showing up that are actually the high commission model, and they're giving you some value in return. The challenge with that is that won't be sustainable unless that business gets really big. All right, so if you're in one of those, you're trying to create one of those, that's the key to succeeding there. A high commission model needs to have a big agent count in order to succeed at a high level and provide value. Otherwise, you can't provide value. There's the leads model. That's a traditional, I would call that the traditional team model. Hey, come work my leads and let's do this together. All right. That's starting to change. Why is that? Well, because 10 years ago, you take 100 listings, I can count on 100 sign calls. I can count on 100 Zillow leads. Well, now we have to pay for those. They're more expensive. So the leads models, we're starting to see those models shift. There's the heavy training coaching model. All right, where you join the company, or you join the team, you join the firm. We're going to coach you, we're going to train you, and you're going to stay with us because we're going to constantly develop your skills, whether it's technology skills, sales skills. That is a model that is succeeding, that is working. When we go into the 18 weeks of the rest of this program, essentially, we're going to dig deeper into each one of these. There's the marketing and reputation model. Hey, come work for us because we've got great marketing and we've got a great reputation because of our marketing. Okay, nothing wrong with that. It's a model. That's the marketing and reputation model. There's the expansion model. Expansion model is, hey, we did something so well in one area, we're taking it to another area, and we need people to help us succeed through that model. All right, there's pluses and minuses to all these models, by the way. There's the agent count model. The agent count model is grow big agent count, so that way we can receive as much revenue as possible, so that in turn we can add value. The more agent count means the more value. Nothing wrong with that. There's the technology model, which is essentially kind of like the golden handcuff. Hey, we're going to provide you all of the technology so you can succeed at a high level in this industry, so that way you will be able to knock the socks off your clients. Your competitors won't be able to hold a candle to you because of the technology we're going to arm you with. Or we're going to save you money because we're going to give you that technology, which, by the way, is actually hurting the team model a little bit. I know there's a lot of teams out there that were known for providing great technology. Well, next thing you know, the franchise or the brokerage starts providing technology, and of course, that hurts the value proposition of the team to some degree. There's the virtual or cloud model. There's been a lot of buzz about that over the last couple of years, and certainly different things with profit share and revenue share. Those models, plus minuses, good, bad. They all have plus minuses, good, bad. There's the social media hype ego model, all right, which is, hey, flashy, come work for this and you can live a flashy lifestyle. You can live like all of us. That model certainly is attractive, but long-term, is it sustainable? Not sure. We'll dig into that. And then there's what I call the Glover U model. All right. So if I want you to write down the Glover U model, and I'll explain what it is. Ready? The Glover U model, which, by the way, was the JGA model. Jeff Glover and Associates is the name of our real estate team. We took that, packaged it, put it together, did trial and error over the last 3 years, and now we've released it to you, the public. The Glover U model is sales skills based, marketing enhanced. Sales skills based, marketing enhanced. Coaching and accountability foundation, with a focus on agent net profitability through offering fair commissions. It's an a la carte value proposition, meaning we offer value that if an agent wants to take advantage of, they can do that. It will cost them a little bit more to do that. They're not forced to do that. We call that the a la carte value prop. Showing agents, for instance, operations team, with a mission to have agents live a balanced life. Now more than ever, people want balance in their life. People want someone that can show them how they can live an unreal life. Our mission, by the way, is living an unreal experience to deliver one. People want a leader that can show them how to do that. High energy, production based. They are salespeople. We teach them how to fish. Okay, we don't want people to feel like they are locked to us because if I leave, then I don't know how to generate my own business. If they come to you for leads, they will leave you for leads. If they come to you for a higher commission split, they will leave you for a higher commission split. If you teach them how to live a profitable, balanced life, there's no reason to go. I wrote down a company where people are always learning, growing, making money, and having fun. They're a salesperson. Per person productivity, looking at the productivity of each agent every year and how we can increase that. Taking the total amount of transactions, dividing that up, and looking at how we increase that. That's what we're going to cover over the next 18 weeks. Agents building their own brands. Okay, big mistake a lot of teams make is they put the team first, the team first, the team brand, the team brand. Well, that's good for lead generation, but your agents need a brand too. And then we'll dig into coaching and training, which I think by now you know is a big thing for me. So we can learn from these models. We can learn a lot from these models. There's pluses, there's minuses. Over the next 18 weeks, my goal is to give you stuff that you can take into your business, whether it's a brokerage, whether it's a team, and you can say, you know what, we're going to come out on top because we've implemented A, B, and C. And we're going to compete at a high level because we've implemented D, E, and F. All right, on our next session, I want to share with you, we're going to dive into the mindset of a millionaire real estate leader. All right, so our first, this is technically our first session. You know, who knows, I might go 19 sessions. You never know, I sometimes go on tangents. We're going to dig into, it starts with the mindset of a millionaire real estate leader. All right, for those of you that were maybe at our summit down in Orlando this past January, I covered the mindset of a millionaire agent. Next week, I'm going to go through from start to finish the mindset that you need to acquire. Now, some of you are saying, I already made $1 million, Jeff. I've got $1 million in assets. I'm already a millionaire. Great. I promise you there's going to be something that I'm sharing that you're going to be able to implement, not just in your business, but remember, a lot of what I'm sharing with you is so you can go back and help your agents. Right? Next week's session on developing the mindset of a millionaire, you're going to have notes that you can take to your next sales meeting and share with your people. They'll be loyal, they'll be grateful, they'll be encouraged, they'll be inspired. My hope is that you take these 18 sessions and implement something once a week. All right, we'll dig into that obviously as we get deeper into it. Okay, last but certainly not least, today's session 1, it's more of an intro. If you're wondering, what are the nuts and bolts? Where's the good stuff? Well, I had to get through the intro first. I had to give you reasons to listen to me, reasons to believe what I'm saying. Feel free to do your research. You can look us up online. Session 2, we dig into the nuts and bolts, my favorite part of it. So between now and then, I want you to do us a favor. Okay, I mentioned to you we're going to have some fun each week. So when you use the hashtag #LoveRU, hashtag ReLead, whatever, take a screenshot, do whatever, your computer screen, put out a quote. I might have shared a quote already that you want to share or something that you wrote down. Share it out on Facebook. Our team is going to go in and search hashtag #LoveRU and hashtag ReLead, and you're getting some gear, you're getting tickets, whatever. Every week we're going to give away something fun, something cool. Until then, I hope you all have an amazing week, and we'll see you next Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a good one. See you guys.